So COINTELPRO, which is Counterintelligence Program, was from 1958 to 1979 and beyond. I'm sure they got rid of it. I doubt they're still doing it. Is a series.
well, now it's just called standard operating procedure. Back then it was a special secret mission.
That was just like page 3 of the handbook. Like, this is one of the things. This is where the coffee maker is, and this is how we surveil the American people and get infiltrate.
Yeah, just like back in the day, CIA had a secret mission to put CIA agents into the media, and now it's just called Anderson Cooper. So
yes.
Much less complicated now.
And then we'll just run people like Pete Buttigieg for office. We'll just try to get them directly into the White House.
Speaking of that, did you see when it was like a quarter of all? It was over a quarter of all Democrats running were former military intelligence, either military or intelligence. Yeah, like they just ran reams of fucking military people as Democrats, and it's like, is anyone else concerned that even if the so-called Democrats win, you're just putting the military into these positions? Like,
they literally like, why they're like, cut out the middleman. Why do we need a puppet when we just get a CIA operative to run the country? And
most of them, they were like proud of it. It wasn't like a secret. It was like, I mean, most of them, it's like on their resume, like after my 4 tours in Iraq, or after my years at the CIA, and now I'm here to help the people. Like,
right. Nobody knows the working class people of America better than a former Navy intelligence officer who was in some Skull and Bones group or whatever. This COINTELPRO was a series of covert and illegal projects conducted by the United States FBI aimed at surveilling, infiltrating, discrediting, and disrupting American political organizations. Right. Anyone that the FBI deemed subversive. They should have investigated J. Edgar Hoover, including feminist organizations, the Communist Party USA, anti-war organizers, activists of civil rights movement or Black Power movement, for example, MLK, Nation of Islam, and the Black Panther Party, environmentalists and animal rights organizations, the American Indian Movement, AIM, independence movements such as Puerto Rican independence.
Man, do they really have to go after the animal rights people? Come on, dude.
Yeah, like how? I mean, come on.
Pigs are people too, all right?
Like, what's gonna happen if they stop hurting? If they get their way and we stop hurting animals, like how does that hurt the FBI?
We all know before you can stop them, the cows take over the Senate, and then they start passing all kinds of crazy laws.
We all saw Animal Farm, so yeah, good call. Get rid of them. They start talking, it's over. Then they were also part of the broader New Left. The program also targeted the KKK. Well, I wish they would have gotten more successful with them.
That's called equal opportunity infiltration. They were like, no, we're also going after the KKK. Yeah, you know what it was? I bet you that it just came out that a lot of FBI and CIA were in the KKK, and they were like, we're infiltrating.
Yeah. That's what we're doing. We're trying to be fair.
That card in my wallet was part of the trick we were playing on them.
They also, in San Diego, this will be fun. Just in case anyone's wondering, I don't know, the government, do they really want to keep us all divided and fighting with each other? They went after those lefties because lefties are bad for America. Oh, hold on. In 1971, the FBI financed, armed, and controlled an extreme right-wing group of former members of the Minutemen, anti-communist paramilitary organization, transforming it into a group called the Secret Army Organization. So
nice.
They started targeting the Black Panthers in 1969, and they assassinated, imprisoned, publicly humiliated, or falsely charged members with crimes. Some of the members included, we've talked about this gentleman before, Fred Hampton, who I know, most people who watch our shows know, but for those of you who don't, was head of the Black Panther Party in Chicago in like the late 1960s. He, again, this is when you get yourself into trouble. He tried to unify Southern whites who lived in a neighborhood called Hillbilly Harlem and said capitalism creates racism, had the first ever Rainbow Coalition. Oh, and then the FBI shot him like 700 times or whatever. So
that also was a suicide. He shot himself 700 times in bed.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course they said, well, they had no choice because Black Panthers are armed, evil militants. So like, this is what they've always done. And I have no doubt that there's intelligent people inside the Proud Boys, inside any Antifa, on both sides to cause trouble, to get people fighting with each other. Anytime like the Sunrise Movement was starting to gain traction, now they endorse Biden. So there's intelligence in them probably. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to believe any organization the minute they got inside of Bernie's campaign, or they just put corporate Democrats. Same thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I'm not much of an organizer, but something I try and tell people who are organizing movements is just assume that if you are, trying to create change, if you're trying to do something like defund the police or create environmental change or whatever, just assume you're going to be infiltrated. And you need to create an organization or create a system that you can have one person or 5 people or whatever join up who seem to want to cause a lot of drama and seem to want to steer things towards violence and all these various things. Want to say, hey, let's all sell drugs on the weekend, and just have terrible ideas. And you need to have a system that can still survive that can get past that. So you just have to assume you're going to be quote unquote infiltrated if you have an open organization you just have to assume it,
Yeah. And it's also true. I mean, this is just the documents from the 60s and early 70s, but we know now the private intelligence, which is now just like, they get even more money. They're more like, and the Five Eyes, they're involved in everything. I mean, I see it on my show in the chat. Someone will come in and try to cause problems, or, I mean, yeah, there's some wingnuts on the internet. It could just be good old fashioned internet wingnuttery, but there's also people you come in, they try to incite violence. They try to get me to say crazy things because then I can be, if I'm like, I could be arrested for inciting a riot or whatever. They're trying to get me to say.
I mean, there's a lot of people that want to sideline or fuck up, people like you or me that do what we do. And sometimes it's connected to corporations. Like, I know that back when the anti-Monsanto campaigns were kind of just gaining traction, and the anti-GMO campaigns, those were two where I would get just a bizarre number of hateful email. Lee, normally I'm a big fan, but you really fucked up on this, man. You're not reading the science. And you could just tell, like, if I'd gotten one of those, I would have believed it. But the fact that I got, 15, where the wording wasn't even that different. And those are normally funded. Those type of things are normally funded by the corporations trying to defend themselves. They will fund kind of troll armies to go after outspoken people that are getting a bunch of hits on YouTube. And then it could just be something as lame as what's James O'Keefe's thing, Project Veritas. Like, they came, I didn't know it until the guy had left, but I was informed by someone else. But this guy came to the show, and he didn't look like my normal fan, very close cut hair and everything. And he was like, "Hey, I'm a big fan." And talk about Pizzagate, talk about all the pedophiles. And like, he's holding a bag here, kind of pointing it at me. And I was like, I don't know, man. Thanks for being a fan. I kind of like walked away. And so it turned out he had a camera in the bag, and he was hoping to catch me, be like, "Oh man, dude, they're raping kids in that Pizza Hut. Dude, Chuck E. Cheese. I saw his dick was out the other day."
Right.
And they were hoping I'd be like that so that they could release some video, I don't know, hurting me. But it's not just cops or CIA. It's also corporate infiltration of varying kinds.
Yeah. Which is all sort of serves the same group of assholes. It feels like they're just all serving these just power hungry dicks, be they on the corporate level or on the intelligence or the military level. Just, they got to get what they got to, we got to win. We got to get more. We're not enough. There's not enough money. There's not enough money for war, whatever their crazy thing is. Because the thing I want to I'd love to sit these FBI guys down and go, what the Black Panthers and MLK, what they were asking for is just fairness. Like, just equality. Is that such a threat? Like, I don't get it.
I don't know which. I wish I could remember which comedian it was that said like, he's like, oh, my kid, I was telling him about Jesus Christ, and I was like, oh, where he asked about Jesus Christ, I was like, oh, he's this guy who wanted love and peace and take care of poor people and stuff like that, and then my kid's like, oh, is he still here today? And they're like, no, they killed him pretty horribly. And then, later my kid was like, who's Martin Luther King? I was like, oh, this is this guy who wanted like peace and get along and like help poor people. Oh, what happened to him? Yeah, they killed him pretty bad. Yeah. And he just like goes down the list. Like,
it might be Neil Brennan. That might be Neil Brennan's bit, but I can't remember. But it's like,
yeah, I think it goes on to like John Lennon. It's like,
yeah,
well,
exactly.
He's saying about getting beyond religion and property and really just loving each other. What happened to him?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the guy who wrote All We Need Is Love. Yeah, here's the thing. This is gonna sound weird. Yeah, I don't get what the threat to everybody loving and getting along is such a threat. I guess we just need to push more of it so they really lose their shit.
Yeah. I mean, they really are afraid that if people just get a slight taste of like not living in massive inequality, so like a taste of equality or a taste of a world where no one fears that a illness will bankrupt them, or right. if we just get even just a slight taste, then it'll all fall down. Everyone will go, this ain't so bad. Like. And that's what it shows how weak that, how feeble the house of cards is. If just that slight idea seed, propagates. Oh, it's horrifying. And, I was watching, here's another example, although a slightly different type of example. I was watching, have you seen the documentary on, you remember Biosphere 2?
Yes.
Where they built that bizarre thing in the desert and back in 94, I think it was. So I just watched a documentary on it. And granted, there were problems in the organization and stuff like that. But in general, if you actually look at like what they started as kind of a hippie, like let's change the world group from the 60s, and they lived together in not quite a commune, but they still had a corporate charter and things like that. But it was a lot of equality and let's work together. And they built things. They built theater groups and fed people and built affordable hotels, and they did all these things around the world. And then they wanted to build this biosphere to like study how we could live, how we could be sustainable and live like in a closed environment so that everything was reproduced and we were living off what we were building and everything. And the ideas are all just like pure and just and like loving. And then like the media just started calling them like a cult, and he's a cult leader and they're out of their minds and all this shit. And granted, the part of the experiment didn't work. They had to pump oxygen into the place because it didn't have enough oxygen and things like that. But it's like, so then just say like, wow, what they did was really impressive and they just need to figure out how to fix the oxygen. Like instead it was like, they're fucking liars and villains and they want to destroy the world with their rainforest in a bubble.
Okay.
But the reason I believe the real reason was because if that caught on, if the idea that it was just 8 people inside that thing, if the idea that 8 people could live in a little area and everything they have in there is just shared and they like grow the way they live and like there's no waste, and if that caught on just a little bit, then it'd be fucking chaos for them. Like it'd be the ruling elite would just be like, oh dear God, they're composting.
Then they won't. They're cutting up their credit cards. What the fuck is going on?
Right.
They need us all in debt, working to the bone, so that they can have their private jets or whatever. And then, God forbid, if we all get along, then they just can't have it. It's like someone figured out how to talk to dolphins. They'd be like, "Yeah, shoot those gay fish," or whatever they would come up with.
I mean, it's the same reason they despise like Cuba on a level that's like just completely irrational. You're like, well, well, fuck those people with their health care. Why? How does that make any sense? Why? I understand you don't like their system. Why so angry?
I know, like they like it. It's like
most of them like it.
It's like it's such an American thing to like argue and fight about everything. Like I remember when I was a young guy, I really liked chocolate chip pancakes, and I was out to dinner with a couple comic buddies of mine, my buddy Jim Bruce and Paul Goldman. My buddy Jim Bruce is like, I don't like these pancakes, and I argued with him, and I'm like, you don't, because I just don't like two things together. I either like chocolate chips or I was like, oh, you don't know how to live. And he you don't know how to live. I was so mad. I was 22 or something, all mad for no reason. And
you know, I broke his nose, but I don't think he deserved it.
He did deserve it. I drone striked him. He had it coming. He knew what he did. No, and then he took like I don't know. He took like an orange and then the parsley because one of us got an omelet or something, and he ate them at the same time. He went, "I'm living," and we just laughed and like literally, I saw him the other week and we laughed about it. I was like, I wish I could go back in time, put my arm around my 22-year-old self and go, "Hey, buddy. You don't need anyone to just enjoy your pancakes. However, who gives a shit if he likes them or not? It's okay. You don't have to be all fighting about all this." I wish I could just do that with the powerful elite and just go, it's okay. If people want to live in a hippie bubble and don't use money, it's all right. Like
you can do your thing over there. They'll do this thing over here.
Yeah, you can just stay in the Hamptons and be just a godless cocksucker, and they're going to have their commune. It's okay.
I mean, yeah. So like, and here another thing I've been thinking about recently is like, look, I don't know that I don't know that I would enjoy living in like a commune type situation. But does anyone else find it odd that there's like none in America? Like if you were to have more than 5 people in an area that were just kind of like helping each other, like literally cops they'll like storm the place. Like there were articles about or news stories about it one in Texas where it was like, 20 people living on a farm, and like the feds went in and like, arrested them for being off the electrical grid or something. Like it's the most
Look how
bizarre.
they treated the CHOP in Seattle. Like the news media covered the CHOP in Seattle. Like, it's just mayhem and they're shooting meth into babies or whatever. And then I know all these people
they did do that to one baby, but it was to see if it made it powerful.
And it did. The baby was very strong. And then people like Ron Placone interviewed this comic from Seattle that was actually there in the CHOP, and he said all these people were getting radicalized when they showed up at the CHOP because they watched the news and said it's just chaos. And they get to the CHOP and there's like people helping each other out. Here's water. Here's whatever you need. And they're supporting the stores and the businesses. And it was like, nope, everybody getting along, and they don't need a militarized jackboot police force. Shut it down. Like, it's just.
Yeah. And then as with Occupy, they started the cops basically, if you create a space, and Occupy is one example where you say, okay, hey, this space in our city is, anybody who comes here, we're going to help them out. There's free food for people that need it. There's basically just an environment that cares about people. Then a certain number of homeless people are going to come down there because they're like, wait a second, there's a square foot in the city where people care and give you food. Mm-hmm. I am there. So a certain number of homeless people will come, but then cops would just go around the city collecting any troubled person and then depositing them down at Occupy in order to create chaos and try and fuck it up. They also would, when someone would be released from prison in New York and not have a place to go, they would also take them down to Occupy. So it was like, oh, they've said they're going to care for people. Well, let's deposit every mentally ill person there so that it just creates, an untenable situation.
All the people we should be taking care of as a government? No, we're going to dump them in your lap. Ha, 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 you with your big heart, eat it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's our show, buddy, right?
I think that's the show. I think we did an extra long one for folks tonight.
We did it. We did a nice 6.
Let's see. Yes. Thanks for doing this. And thanks for listening, everybody. We are now officially on all the platforms, I think.
Yes, we're on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and Google Podcast Play or whatever it's called.
Nice. So if you are listening and you wanted to listen to us, you can now listen to us. You can get us on any of the platforms, Government Secrets, and all my other stuff. My other podcast called Common Censored. My book is now 20% off if you use the coupon code, the initials of the title, Bullet Points and Punchlines, BPAPL is the coupon code. That's at leecampbook.com. My comedy special is free at leecamp.american.com. And all the other stuff is at leecamp.com.
Sweet. Of course, you can go to and if you are listening to this podcast, please like it, download it, give positive reviews in iTunes and all that stuff. Share it on your social media because that'll help grow the show. This is only our 6th episode, and then if you go to grahamelwood.com, you can watch my show on YouTube, Political Vigilante. It also is an audio podcast available on iTunes and all those other platforms. And then all my whole online store, I have Vigilante, The Dark Knight, Volume 2, which is a black tea available. There's only 50 of them made. All my merch is on sale because I'm clearing out my my merch, and I'm going to come up with new products and stuff like that. So everything's on sale. Everything ships for free. Just go to grahamelwood.com.
And please make finger paintings of us. We would like that.
But if they're too lovey and nice, we're going to beat you up and set them on fire, you weirdo hippie, for making things nice. So thanks for listening and watching, everybody.
All right, that's the show.
Hey, everybody. Like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification button and the subscribe button, even if you've done it before, because they're unsubscribing, many of you, every day. Watch the ads all the way through. If you click skip ad, I don't get paid. Also, support us at patreon.com/GrahamElwood or rockfin.com/GrahamElwood. Rockfin.com is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. All my videos are on Rockfin ad-free. Thanks for watching.